I want to read your speech. I think I'm a pagan. Rewind that videotape, would you? They're going to fire me. They're going to fire me. No, that was beautifully stated. You know, you go to these forums. How many years we've been doing this? Over 20 years. Don't start my clock yet. And we realize how much we have in common. We may use different terminology to describe the similar concepts. But I think tonight's topic, the devil made me do it, once we get a little further along, you'll see that there are some differences. But that was really well stated. Okay. Turn the lady there. There we go. Okay. That's good. Give me an extra 30 seconds because I'm long-winded.
Good plug.
All right. Thank you. So we go back to the story of the creation of the world. And when you look at the Bible, you see that after each day, God says, and the world was good. And another day was very good. So the basic principle is that God made the world. It was great. It was good. And that's the basic premise, that God is the creator, that the world is good. When he created man with free will, with choice between good and evil. And with those choices, there are consequences, individual responsibility. In Judaism, we call that each person is not created with original sin. That's not a concept in Judaism. We say that they are created with Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Ra. The Yetzer Tov is the inclination to do good, and the Yetzer Ra is the inclination to do evil. But even that is a little bit of a misnomer. The inclination to do evil is not necessarily evil as we know it. It's kind of, how do I explain it? There are things that we have, arrogance or greed or ambition. All these things taken to a certain extreme could be viewed as, quote, evil. And yet if you remove those concepts, maybe we wouldn't have roads, we wouldn't have buildings, we wouldn't have all of these things that man seeks to build in life. And so there has to be a balance, and the two struggle and they fight. The concept of Satan or devil or Lucifer is really not a concept in Judaism. Perhaps the closest you'll have is that of Satan, or Satan in Hebrew, found in the book of Job and a couple other places in the Bible. And for us, that is really not a fallen angel, but a prosecutor, a prosecutorial angel, who's not against God, but rather is the one who kind of tempts man, trying to get man to go off course, trying to encourage man to go closer and closer to that Yetzer Ra, as if we needed encouragement, right? But that's the function of Satan. In Reform or Liberal Judaism that I represent, it's more of a metaphor, but probably in more traditional Judaism, there's a belief in that and more of a literal sense. So what is the nature of sin, or the nature of evil? Evil, in its most simplest fashion, is not fulfilling God's will. So things that are against God's will, we would deem evil. And a sin is, in Hebrew, called a chet. Sin is like if you had a target and you were shooting an arrow right to the center, you would be hitting it right on. That's the right thing to do. But we're not very good. We're not very good at aiming that arrow, so we miss the mark. Missing the mark is a sin. Not living up to the highest ideals and principles that we're capable of doing. That's the sin. There's sins against God. There's sins against our fellow human beings. You may have heard of a little holiday called Yom Kippur, and that is the mega holiday in Judaism of sin, in which we ask God for sins, for forgiveness for sins. That little Freudian. We ask God because we're so pure. Rewind that tape again. So we ask God for forgiveness from our sins, the sins that we have committed against God, but the sins we have created against our fellow human beings, we have to go to them and we have to seek forgiveness after we've resolved never to do them again. So no concept of individual original sin, no concept of the devil or Lucifer. So the good news and the bad news, I guess, is that we have ultimate responsibility. It's up to us. So that's our challenge, and The world was created good, and we are partners with God. The challenge is that we maintain that partnership with open eyes and full heart. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to speak on the concept of the devil and the perceptions of evil from the Nietzschean Buddhist point of view. We do not believe in the devil in the literal sense as an actual being, but it is used as a metaphorical term for the devilish functions at work both inside and outside of our lives. This concept of a devil is perceived in Buddhist scriptures as the devil king of the sixth heaven. This evil entity acts to obstruct people in their Buddhist practice. It is said that the devil king of the sixth heaven, or Mara in Sanskrit, appeared before Shakyamuni Buddha, or Siddhartha Gautama as he's otherwise known, as he meditated under the Bodhi tree to prevent him from attaining enlightenment. He also appeared again before him to stop him from making the decision to teach others about his enlightenment. These were the internal battles he waged in his heart in his journey to help all people to become happy. In terms of an actual person who was the arch-enemy of the Buddha, Devadatta, the cousin of Shakyamuni Buddha, fits this role. At first, Devadatta earnestly exerted himself in his Buddhist practice as a disciple of Shakyamuni. Because of his talent and ability, he gradually gained distinction in the Buddhist order. Later, he grew arrogant and jealous of the Buddha and began plotting to try to replace Shakyamuni as the head of the order. He created a schism in the Buddhist order, luring away a number of disciples. He conspired with Ajatashatru, prince of the Indian state of Magadha, into overthrowing his father, Bimbisara, who was a patron of Shakyamuni. He eventually had his father killed and ascended to the throne. With the new king backing him, Devadatta made several attempts on Shakyamuni's life. He had mad elephants released upon him and even pushed a huge boulder down upon him.
No, sorry.
Okay, wow.
The devil made me do it. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. It is said as a result of his misdeeds, Devadatta is said to have fallen into hell alive. This leads us to our view of hell and heaven. We do not believe in a physical place called hell or heaven. They are actually states of life we refer to as the 10 worlds. The 10 worlds are 10 states of life we all go through every day. The bottom, of course, being hell, or a hellish state of life characterized by supreme suffering and torment. I'm sure we've all experienced even living it today. Then elevating to hunger, then animality, anger, tranquility, then heaven, or the state of rapture, where there is a fulfillment of one's desires. These 6 worlds are called the 6 paths and represent a state where we are consistently influenced by our environment. Once we realize we are being controlled by our environment and bouncing through these 6 lower worlds, we then strive to break the cycle of karma by trying to understand and be able to have more control of our lives. This then leads us to the state or world of learning, followed by realization. These 8 worlds still consist of a self-centered or ego-centered state of life. The Buddha then taught the way of the Bodhisattva, who represents a profound state of compassion and altruism, seeking others' happiness and enlightenment even before their own. Finally, we come to Buddhahood, or the state of life of the Buddha, the unlimited power and potential of all human beings, which manifests itself in wisdom, hope, courage, strength, appreciation, and joy. Devadatta's life represents the world of hell. However, the most amazing thing is written in Shakyamuni Buddha's highest teaching found in the Lotus Sutra. He states in the 12th chapter that Devadatta was actually his mentor and teacher in a past life who taught him the Buddha way. Shakyamuni was a king in that lifetime who renounced his throne so he could seek the way to enlightenment, and Devadatta was a seer who answered his call to teach him about the truth of life. This scenario is unthinkable to most people, but Shakyamuni considered him as a good friend in the past, even though he was playing an evil friend in his current one. He also predicts that Devadatta will attain enlightenment or Buddhahood in the future. This concept represents what is known in Buddhism as the oneness of good and evil. In our view of the 10 worlds, another concept I'd like to elaborate on is called the mutual possession of the 10 worlds. This states that every world has all the 9 other worlds within it. For example, they say even a thief who represents the world of hunger loves his mother, which represents the world of bodhisattva or altruism. So in hell, Buddhahood can be found, and in Buddhahood, even hell can be found. This is the oneness of good and evil. Actually, the source of where evil comes from is an ignorance to this wonderful, powerful state of life called Buddhahood that is latent within us. So a Buddha, or awakened one, is one awakened to this profound principle that we are all Buddhas inside, this latent potential. And thus, so the point becomes now our struggle against the devilish or evil forces within our life, the negative forces that create, some may call it sin, the negative forces that do damage to others and our own Buddha nature. Thus, if the point is the battle against good and evil, continuously battling the evil or devilish functions within us, then we must constantly battle to create more good. The founder of our SGI organization, Tsunesaburo Makiguchi, once shared an elaborate example of this.